My guest is Pastor Rick McEdward, who is the president of the Middle East North Africa Union. The headquarters for the Middle East North Africa Union, which cares for this region, is based in Beirut.
That's right.
How many countries do you have in your territory?
We have 20 countries in the Middle East North Africa Union. They stretch actually from in the west, from Morocco, Western Sahara, across North Africa, above the Sahara Desert, through the Middle East, the Gulf region, and also include Turkey and Iran and North Cyprus.
Now describe the types of people groups that you have in these territories.
Well, we have a lot of different people groups, hundreds of them, but there's certain large ones. Most of them are Arabic speaking. They're, of course, Farsi, Turkish speaking people, and there's a large block of people who may not realize as their first affinity that Jesus would be the one that they'd want to follow.
Right.
There's a wide span, and the territory includes quite a few cities. I think last count, 51 cities of at least 1 million people.
So basically we're talking about an urban territory.
Largely urbanized, because when you have a lot of desert, people tend to congregate in cities.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what sort of challenges is the Seventh-day Adventist Church facing here?
Well, it's uneven challenges. We have 4 countries that are in chaos at the moment: Syria, Iraq, and Yemen and Libya, that it's really not that safe to operate fully inside them. We have several countries that would be considered kind of off limits to traditional Christian outreaches. And so, you try to do your best in reaching people, sharing God's love in practical ways.
Tell me some of the good things that are happening here.
Well, one of the great things is some health initiatives. We have a very strong health ministries team that are actively going to communities, sharing God's abundant life health with people, doing the blood pressure checks and all this kind of stuff. But when we do that, wherever we go, we find that the majority of people have never been inside of a church before.
Wow. Yeah. Now, when you look at the sheer numbers, how many Adventists are we looking at in ratio to the population?
Well, of course, in the whole of all the 20 countries altogether, we have only about 3,700 church members.
Right.
Now, when you're talking about 520 million of the population, so there's about 1 Adventist to every 146,000 people. Mm-hmm. And let me just give one more little tidbit on this. That means if every Adventist shared their faith with one person every day how long would it take to be faithful to the mission? Right. 400 and some years.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So, Rick, we face a crisis in these territories at the moment with refugees.
Yeah.
And just in this country alone. Tell me a little bit about how the church is responding to that.
Well, first of all, let me describe it. We often hear about the refugee situation in America politically, or we hear about the crisis in Europe where many have fled. But we have Iraq, Libya, and Syria that have all sent refugees running because of the chaos in their own countries. One of the things that is not well known is the fact that in MENA, the countries have been very receptive. Mm-hmm. So we have the countries of Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon that have the largest percentage of refugees from these countries anywhere in the world. Almost all of the refugees from Iraq and Syria are in Lebanon, Jordan, and Turkey. Wow. And we have around 7 million refugees in our territory.
That makes a big, big difference to the social fabric.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Now, here in Beirut, tell me about what is being done for refugees.
Well, we like to share with people in practical ways. There's not a lot of opportunity to do overt kind of sharing, but we can build people up. We can share healthy lifestyle. We can share education. And one of the best things that I think is happening is a center not far from here, where they're in a community largely made up of Syrian refugees, which blend into the fabric of society here, but they struggle with education and jobs. And the kids don't have any place to go.
Right.
So we have opened our doors to a refugee school that has children of all ages learning up through almost high school level, where they learn all the education, learn how to speak English, they learn all the typical educational patterns, and it is wonderful to go in there and see this group of happy young people who are learning so much.
How many are coming through?
Right now we have a limit because of the amount of school space we have. We have about 135
Excellent.
attending right now. Yeah.
As you look to the future, what sort of hopes would you have?
You know, our region has been blessed by receiving a lot of help from other areas. General Conference, certainly, South America Division, North Asia Pacific Division. But when I look across this territory, there are needs that we can't meet with our few members and resources. And we would love to see more and more people saying, I want to pray for what you're doing in MENA. I want to join somehow in your mission in MENA. And I'd like to invite, if possible, the world to just consider, what would God have do here? We'd love to see, centers of influence developed. We'd love to see global mission pioneers sent out in different areas. We'd love to see people who maybe aren't dependent on the church, but maybe start a business in some of these territories where it would be easier to start a business than send a foreign family. And so we have many different creative opportunities, and we just love the world field to share in those with us.
Wonderful. Rick, thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Gary.
And as Rick said, prayer is the number one need here in MENA. So many beautiful people, so many wonderful people, but many don't have the hope that we know about that comes only through Jesus Christ. So please remember them in your prayers.